Let's talk a little bit about Marvin Lewis. And he's one of those NFL coaches that could be on the hot seat. You could have said that before. Now, he's in his 14th year as head coach. How about that? They're 0-7 in those 14 years with Marvin at the helm. Never won a playoff game. They've lost in the wild card each of those 7 years. He has 4 division titles, but hasn't even been able to get them over the hump, so they've had home games as well since 2003. This is a down year, we get it. I'm surprised that they're having a down year. But I was very critical of Marvin Lewis right here, live at 120 Sports, when they, to me, gaffed and gave away a playoff game to your Steelers last year. And as much as I have respect for Marvin Lewis, I thought he had run and lost the inmates, if you will, in that asylum. And that they are running things in Cincinnati, and it's not Marvin Lewis. He's let his guys get out of control, and that cost them a playoff game.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Maybe you differ. I thought he should have been canned last year, and it seems like it's carried over to this year. Should they trust the process, or has he failed that process?
I think through time they have trust the process there. Let's give Marvin Lewis some credit, a lot of credit. He had changed the culture there in Cincinnati, because for such a long time, Cincinnati was a bad football team that was always drafted in the top 3, top 5 of the NFL
Great
draft.
point.
The last 7, 8 years, they have been a competitive team. But the process is starting to fail based on the things you alluded to. The lack of being disciplined, accountability. This is a talented team. What we saw a year ago, they didn't lose that ball game because Andy Dalton did not play. A.J. McCarron did more than enough for them to win that ball game. They lost that ball game because they were so undisciplined. Non-athletic mistakes. That's something that you cannot tolerate. So I say this is a failed process. Yes, he changed the dynamics of this organization. Now they are a quality, respectable ball club.
No doubt.
But you cannot get to the playoffs 7 times, and not win one ball game. And the closest,
Even Tony Romo's won 2.
and the closest you have come to winning a playoff game was when you didn't have your starting quarterback. That was the most competitive ball game. That's the game you should have won. Any other game, they just didn't show up. So I think he has 1 more year remaining on his contract, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think you should cut ties with him right now. But this is a make-or-break year coming up. Because the other 2 teams in that division, they have went to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl. In the last 2-3 years, we can all say the best team in that division has been Cincinnati.
It's a great point you make about discipline, because I couldn't imagine your old coach, Mike Tomlin. I couldn't imagine you looking at John Harbaugh in his own division, and certainly at Bill Belichick, putting up with some of the characters that have cost you playoff games.
I mean, outside of this season, you can go back 2 years, 3 years. A legitimate argument could be the Cincinnati Bengals had the most talented team in the AFC North. And you can't give me one playoff win. One. I mean, when you get to the playoffs the first time, you're happy because Cincinnati hadn't been there in a long time.
Right.
When you get there the second year, you're more than happy once again. We're getting used to getting to the playoffs. When you win the division, now you're like, wow. Okay, what's next? You have to continue to improve. You have to continue to improve. And when you had your opportunity, and the window was starting to close there for Cincinnati, because you caught Pittsburgh on a few down years with injuries.
Mm-hmm.
You caught the Baltimore Ravens on a few down years, especially at the Super Bowl when they lost quality players and they had injuries to plague their year a year ago. You still didn't take advantage of it. Guess what? Now the Ravens and the Steelers are starting to creep right back to being one of the more consistent contenders in NFL. Guess where that pushes Cincinnati?
Right back down.